Hey mamas, it's Kristen Noel, founder of the Intuitive Divorce, and I'm popping on here with my wonderful team member, Master Coach Joe Young. We are hot off of our class today, and honest to God, wow, 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 wow is all I can say. We come to class, each week with like a topic or just, something we want to dive into. And then we never really know exactly where it's going to go because we never really know where life has led the mamas in our group over the last week because a lot of life happens in those 7 days. But today was particularly powerful in so many ways. I'm going to try to unpack so many different things. We came into this class thinking that we were just going to talk about excuses, what's underneath the excuses that, really just starting with asking questions like, are you where you want to be in your divorce? And then, like, kind of getting underneath that and trying to figure out what is it that you're committed to. And so we're really helping unpack that. But let me tell you something, when we start unpacking, you never know what's going to come out because this is the sacred space. This is the place where mamas come and they reveal and they share in the messiness. Sometimes it's laughter, sometimes it's tears, sometimes it's pain, but it's all about getting it out, processing, workshopping, having a safe space. And I mean, we'll jump around. We're going to touch on a lot of stuff, but I just want to toss it over to you, Joe, to just get your reflections on today. But all I can say is like, I wanted to hop on here as soon as possible. And I didn't even want to discuss it before we got on because I just wanted it to just unfold. And I just wanted to stay in the energy of that incredible, incredible time we spent together.
Yeah, I loved every second of it. And, excuses can start off as being a little bit of a heavy subject. And, we really started by reminding them that put on your non-judgmental hat and show up and be really honest with where you are today. And we had no
Oh,
idea what
we
would
go, we
unfold. I
got
mean,
some
at one
candid
point,
answers.
yes. And at one point, we were all laughing so much on all of our little Hollywood squares on Zoom that we were, it was like, wow. And this is a divorce group. And, there are moments of just complete joy, celebrating each other, being cheerleaders for each other's journey. And then, and we also are there for the heavy stuff. And I couldn't adore
Mhm.
the authenticity of what comes up each and every week more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was amazing, we started the class, my stepdaughter's here visiting, and we started the class by just bringing her in really quickly to introduce her, because I talk about her quite often because she was 5 years old when Bill was going through his divorce. And so it's so wonderful for the mamas in the group to see a grown child. She's still going to be my child, but grown child. And to just, they've been hearing stories about how we got our kids through divorce and how we stayed present. I know there's a lot of fear that comes up of the unknown, particularly around finances. We were diving a lot into that today and the energy that's attached to that. But so much of our parenting during divorce, it's not about the finances. It's not about where you live. I mean, I know these things are important, but it's not the car you drive or the house you live in, or then, it's how present you are with your kids. And it's really hard to be present with our kids when we're not present with ourselves. So much of the work that we're doing is nurturing mamas so they can be present with their kids. They can be present with their lives. They can feel alive even during divorce, and they can be present for the really tough decisions. So it was amazing to have my stepdaughter come in and just for them to see her briefly for a couple of minutes, to see her interact with Bill, and also to be reassured that these relationships can really be fostered and that your kids are going to get through it and they're going to get to the other side. Obviously, you want to be conscious of it. You want to lean in, you want to nurture them, you want to be there. So that was really wonderful. We started class that way, and we ended class with another mama whose mama came in just to say hi to us. So it was like the bookends. And she was so
Mm.
proud. She said something so profound because she was so proud of her daughter, and she knows how difficult this process is. I think what she said was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something to the effect of how proud she was and how she always wanted more for her daughter. She wanted her daughter to to have more opportunity, to have more options, to be stronger, to be able to use her voice, to be able
Mhm.
to live the life that she wanted. That's what we all want. That's what
Yeah,
we all want. So it was just, honestly, my heart is just so overflowing today. Just what
yeah.
it
I
felt
loved
like
that, the
the,
bookend pieces, and
yeah.
that's so real. And having your stepdaughter show up, it's such a beautiful thing to have a real life example
Mhm.
of someone who has grown up and become the product of another human who has chosen to do the work and
Yeah.
who showed up and learned how to show up for her so differently than if the marriage had stayed intact, most likely. And
Mhm.
that's the thing around when we're stepping into making a different decision for ourselves in divorce. We just go to these worst case scenarios with the kids. But what you don't understand and never underestimate is the power that you're giving them by watching you become a whole person. They then have an opportunity to become a whole person, not just a shell of a human. Because you've become so numb on the inside with everything going on, your kids pick up on that. You might be there physically, but there's no way to be there for them emotionally when you aren't there for yourself emotionally. So it was such a beautiful thing to witness. And then, as you said at the end, to watch this mama so proud of her daughter for doing this hugely courageous thing, which is owning her own life and deciding that she deserves more. We just were overjoyed at the end. We're
It
like,
was
we got to jump
incredible.
on
Yeah.
and tell our community here what's possible on the other side of all of this. And these women aren't even really on the other side yet.
That's the piece here. And that's something that Bill said to me privately before we even got onto this call, because one of the takeaways, well, first of all, in class, mamas are at all stages, which is so powerful because when you
Yeah,
see a mama at sort of the end where everything is really kind of lining up and falling into place, and she's really coming alive again and really in a much more empowered place. The mama that's over here that's really still wobbling and vulnerable and afraid of the unknown can see a part of herself in that reflection. And she says, I want what she's having. That is one of the things I love. And the other thing is there's always so much gold in the reflection, in holding space for each other and for really like leaning in and helping, helping another mama,
yeah,
really consoling another mama, lifting her up, helping her see something. The first woman that spoke today in our group was bravely just sharing something she wanted to workshop. She wanted to workshop her excuses and what she was committed to and what was going on. And the funny thing is that, or maybe not the funny thing, but it's in the story that she told us were all her solutions. She just didn't see them. She wasn't organizing them in that way. And everybody in the group like rallied around her, like her tribe. And they were like, but did you hear that? And did you see that? And did you see that win? And did you celebrate that? And it's the story we tell. And I love that line about future tripping. We were talking about how easy it is to future trip and to be really taken down by the what ifs. What if this goes wrong? What if this doesn't work out? What if I don't have enough this? Or what if I, whatever? It's like, hey, future tripping isn't real. Last time we checked, future hadn't happened yet. So we get to decide. We get to decide instead of telling that story, how do we tell a different one? How do we lean into the possibility of not worst case scenarios? That's not about being imprudent, but it's about why can't we think happy thoughts? Why can't we think about happy outcomes? Why can't we think that we're going to be okay? We're going to figure it out. We're going to get our kids through it. We're going to make decisions for the right reasons. We're going to reconnect to our intuition.
it makes such a huge difference in how we show up. It makes such a huge difference in our nervous system and in our bodies so that we get to show up more in power when we're looking at, okay, yeah, some things can happen, right? But I know I got this. And I'm surrounded by this tribe of women who are there supporting each other, first and foremost. Second of all, I am spending so much energy worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. And what if instead, and you said this in class today, what if instead I took all of that energy and I put it towards something that's healing, something that feels nurturing, something, a possible outcome that isn't the worst case scenario.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, each and every person traverses through whatever they need to get through, right?
Mhm.
But how we do it is so different when we're not choosing to see everything outside of us that can go wrong. It
Mhm.
just completely shifts the whole experience, even though a divorce is a divorce. And it's hard and it's difficult, and there are challenges and there are things to be negotiated. But there's such a different way to go through each and every step of it, whether you're at the beginning or whether you're at the end.
Mhm. And so going back to what Bill had said to me before we got on here was he said, that was so powerful. It was so, so, so powerful to witness those women gathering around each other, laughing, crying, getting chills, just really holding each other's hopes and dreams, right? And he said, this is what women who aren't in this group are missing. And this
Oof.
is trying to navigate this by themselves. And it's so powerful. And I get it. I get it. It's like, it's overwhelming. I'm writing a book about it right now. I understand what the old paradigm is, what the old narrative is, which says, run out and get a shark of an attorney. And, it's all about the asset grab and a tug of war over the kids. And I know that those things are realities. But the condition that you're in and taking care of yourself is not an afterthought. It literally is a game changer. And I'm not saying that like, some tagline on my website. I'm saying it because how you divorce matters, because how you live matters, how you show up matters. And it's totally going to inform how you relate to your kids. And who are they going to be? Like, are you going to be able to pull them into a conversation 20 years later? And what are they going to say about this moment? How were you when you showed up? And if you're going to show up for them, you got to show up for yourselves. And that's what we love about this work. And we see it in real time. And it is
Yeah.
beautiful.
It sure is. And how many times did we hear today? I wouldn't be here if it weren't for this group. I
Mhm.
wouldn't be at this stage if it weren't for this group. I mean, time and time and time again. And I don't say that to toot our horns. I
Right.
say that as a testament to the women who are showing up each and every week and doing this and sharing their stories and encouraging each other and are truly there for each other each and every step of the way. And it's
Well, I'm sorry,
invaluable.
sister. I'm going to toot your horn because it's because of your training and all the courses that we've taken, all the trainings we've taken, all the skills we've taken, and how we have translated them to transform the lives of women navigating divorce because we know they need to know how to show up to regulate their nervous systems. They need to create boundaries and stand up for themselves. And that's why I love teaching these classes with you because, I'll get a salient point out and then you like will come in and like wrap it up in this beautiful bow and remind us of how to reframe that and how to rescript that and how to see that and how to use that, not to blame, shame, and use, judgment, but to empower ourselves by saying, okay, this happened. Now what? One mama, I wrote it down because I was so touched by it. She said, yes, she has a lawyer and she has a child therapist involved, but she says, but that the intuitive divorce is the heart of the operation. That I want to be my new tagline because that's what we care.
Yeah.
We care about mamas. We care about mamas. And it was interesting because in this process of writing this book, someone had asked me, why mamas? Why are you just working with mamas? Because everybody needs help getting a divorce, getting through a divorce. Well, obviously, we can't help everybody, but we've picked mamas because mamas have tentacles to babies, and the babies are tentacles to legacy. It's like it's changing, it's really changing the history of all it
Mm.
is to come. And when you see the validation of someone's mother who's popping into class and saying how proud she is of her daughter for showing up for this work and for breaking that lineage, breaking those patterns in their family. Like for me, there was no one in my family that had a divorce. So I didn't have any point of reference. There was a lot that came with that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And but you shifted the entire future for your child. And that's the thing. It's like it is the work that the ripple effect continues
Hmm.
to impact for generations to come. There's no doubt about it. And the other thing I'm going to say back to tooting our horns
Toot, toot.
is
Toot,
that,
toot.
you know what?
Beep,
You're
beep, 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 beep,
absolutely
beep.
right. Because one of the things that I'm most proud about is we don't get on here and say things that we don't mean. We
Mhm.
don't get on here and say things that we don't live. And it's a
Mhm.
huge difference when you embody this work. And that's the piece of it that I love about each and every person that walks away from this at the end of this program, even though we have a hard time letting them walk away. They graduate from this part of it. That's what I'll say is that, they have embodied a new identity for themselves. They get to show up as a different person. And it's what I loved so much today with the first mama that shared, as I said, look at you. You just came full circle and completely gurued yourself.
Yeah,
Like
I
she
love when you said that.
completely
Yeah.
talked, she knew her own answers.
Mhm.
She knew what she needed to do. She knew what she was afraid of. She knew what her excuses were. And she said no more. And we were just there to hold the space. And that is the best because that's what they get to go into their future with.
Using a like a metaphor, like a writing metaphor, it was like word salad, right? You get it all out on the paper, and then you get a really great editor, and the editor comes through and says, "Doo, doo, 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 doo," and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, wow, this is like a mission statement. This is like that's what happened today. That's
Mhm.
really what happened, right? Like, isn't that like a great way to describe it? It's like she like
It
threw
really
it all
is.
out there. We all just kind of sat back and everybody was just like in awe of all the things she was saying, not realizing that she was already there. She was already there, and she just needed, it was just a little bit more of like she needs some editing. We had to edit out the stuff that was no longer needed, and it's just incredible, incredible to
Yeah.
witness.
Yeah. It's the best when you get to watch people remember who they are and
Hmm.
how powerful they are when they learn how to reconnect to those parts of themselves that have their own answers,
Hmm.
that know how strong they are, that are in new beginnings about things. Let's finances, for instance. There's many women who have never taken control of their own finances, and
Hmm.
that can be a really frightening thing. But it's like, guess what? There's so many resources. There's so many ways for you to become educated about the things that matter to you. And all of these women are so incredibly capable. And, do we give advice here and there around certain things to help them? Of course. But at the end of the day, they're finding their own power. And we hear it time and time again with, I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my power
Oh,
back. And it's like, is there anything
music to my
better than
ears.
that?
Yeah. Well, and also what it really boils down to when you speak of knowing, this is what it means to be aligned with your intuition. This is what it means to lean in and trust yourself. And this is what it also means when we talk about, yes, you're going to invest in an attorney. Yes, you're going to have some big costs that are probably a little bit staggering at first. But when you invest in this work, this is investing in yourself, not just your divorce. These skills aren't divorce skills, they're life skills. I love that when you said we are walking the walk and talking the talk in our own humanness, in our own messiness, in our own stumbles and falls. The difference is when you start to develop these skills, when you start to listen to your intuition, maybe you make a move that doesn't work out, but guess what? You pivot a lot faster and you don't beat yourself up, or you don't think that you're stuck there, or you don't tell yourself a story that this is all there is. You just say, okay, I made a choice. Now I'm going to make another one. And again, this is not about advocating for divorce. This is advocating for healthy relationship. And
Yeah.
healthy relationship starts with self.
Yeah. It's about becoming the most empowered version of you. And when
Mm,
that happens, anything is possible.
yeah,
Yeah, you get to create a whole different future for yourself.
it's amazing. And I'm going to leave this today with just the fact that you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but when I looked at the screen and it was filled with little boxes, it's always filled with little boxes, but sometimes there are tears and sometimes people are writing copious notes and they're really listening and they're really leaning in. But when we ended class today, there was so much laughter and there was so much joy because we had been celebrating aliveness. Through the tough conversation of excuses and really uncovering what we're committed to and the fear beneath it, we really uncovered that it's about being alive. And some funny stories came up, and some surprising stories came up, and some wonderful stories came up. But at the end of the day, it's all about coming back to life. And I looked at the screen and I said, I actually really want to take a picture of this because this doesn't look like a divorce class. This looks like it.
So true. So true. And yet it does, because
Yeah.
we do know how to hold the space for the both and,
Hmm.
you know, the difficult and the challenging, and also the joy and the celebration. And that is what it is to be alive. So, yeah,
And when you, mama, I know this is hard. I know this is hard. I know that you're scared. I know that you're vulnerable. I know. I've been there. I have been there. But when you fill your cup, this is how you heal. When you fill your cup, you have something to pour from. And that's it. Take care of you. Take care of yourself during this. So I think I'm going to leave you with that. And we are thrilled to pop on here with you every week. And if you're curious about learning more about the intuitive divorce, check out our website, intuitivedivorce.com. Again, get on the newsletter. There's tons of stuff that comes out, a couple times a week, lots of strategies, lots of information, lots of inspiration, lots of love. You can also check us out on social media, Intuitive Divorce. We're going to be launching our membership site. I'm writing a book. Joe's got amazing programs. There's a lot of good stuff here to support yourself. Fill your cup. Figure out where you can do that. I don't care where you start, just start.
a start.
Yeah, you matter.
That's right. We're here for you.
Mwah.